Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us for another episode of the PHNX Suns podcast, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Lindsey Smith. That voice was Saul Bookman. We're also joined by Gerald Bourguet and Espo today. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Let's go, baby. I'm ready.
I'm feeling good.
Do you guys tip your hairdresser?
Yeah.
I don't have a hairdresser.
Barber, or whatever.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Why?
Whoever does your hair.
I was just thinking about it. Like, that's like the one person I feel like you have to tip well, because they could make you look like a total idiot for a long period of time.
So did you not tip your hairdresser
true.
today?
No. I tip my hairdresser. Trying to insult me about my hair. Hi, Emma.
No, but
somebody wasn't plugged in.
I 100% think you definitely have to tip your hairdresser.
I mean, literally, of anybody you could tip, I feel like that person's the one you got to do.
Or your doctor. Nobody ever tips a doctor.
Because they make bank.
Yeah.
They're freaking rich.
But hey,
You want to talk about inflated prices?
hey, listen, you better make sure this vasectomy goes through, because if not,
Oh, God.
It's a different.
Anyway,
not gonna
again,
make the
welcome
tip
to the PHNX Suns show, where we are going to talk about the Phoenix Suns. I promise you that. Are we good on the audio side of things now?
I can talk now? Hi, everybody.
so that whole first 3 minutes was for nothing?
No. We're not even at 3 minutes. We're at 2 minutes.
No, it's
So
not
only
even
2
that bad.
minutes were crap, so don't worry.
Oh, no.
I said, should you tip your hairdresser well because they could make you look like an idiot?
The
None
answer we
that-
decided was yes.
All right.
I miss Shane.
Okay.
Shit.
All right. So,
Back on the rails. Let's
back
go.
on the rails, we had quite a few people in the Discord ask us about this player. We've seen reports and things mentioned about this player all throughout the day. That is Fred Van Vleet. So Mark Stein, in his newsletter, brought up the Toronto Raptors and how there could potentially be some movement there. So OG and Siakam seem like they're mostly unlikely to be moved. And if they are, the price is probably going to be very high. Gary Trent Jr., we know, is actively being shopped right now. But then he also mentioned that maybe, just maybe, Fred Van Vleet could become available. So if he does become available, should the Suns be buyers?
Fuck yeah. A little FV squared. Let's go, baby.
Of the names, I feel like he's more realistic than Siakam or OG ever was, because he turned down a contract extension. He's going in to free agency. This is the kind of guy that is perfect to try to go after if you're the Suns, because then you would have the ability to re-sign him in your regardless of cap space. He could answer one of what has become one of your biggest question marks, the point guard position. The question is, what's the price and how willing are you to give that up? Are you willing to part with a McHale and draft capital? Would it be more? I don't know, but I think that's the avenue you explore to solidify things going forward.
I love Fred Van Vleet, but my question is, okay, if you're trading for Fred Van Vleet, what are you doing with Chris Paul? Because Van Vleet makes $21 million. You're not going to get him for like Jae Crowder and Landry Shamet or Jae Crowder and Dario Saric. So you have to have another trade lined up. And are they ready? Are they ready to pull the trigger on that trade when they've barely been able to land a Jae Crowder trade? I don't
think
know.
you could have them coexist this year, but you're getting out of that Chris Paul deal next year.
You are.
You're going to eat the $15 million. I don't see why they couldn't coexist for 1 year or for not even a full year. We're talking half a season and then move on to Fred Van Vleet for the future.
Bye. Sorry. I'm sorry. Bye. Like,
maybe he's part of the deal.
I doubt that. But listen, I think they could coexist this year. I absolutely do.
Mm-hmm.
It probably eases things for guys like Landry Shamet and Dwayne Washington for sure. But I'm not concerned about what this means for Chris Paul's future, because at this point, I don't think Chris Paul has much of a future left with the Suns at past this year. And you got to do what's in the best interest of the team. Get some guys in here that you think you can extend and help Booker out in the next coming years. And I think Fred Van Vleet definitely, it's hard to say that really fast.
Fred Van
Fred
Vleet.
Van Vleet.
FV squared can do that.
He can. But my question is more because you're coming at it from a mindset of like, yes, Chris Paul is expendable. I'm coming at it from logistically, where are you trading him? Like, who is taking him on? And are you going to have to attach an asset for him? In which case you're getting rid of 2 assets because you're trading for Fred Van Vleet and you're probably having to find another deal for Chris
Do
Paul.
you not think they could coexist?
I think they could, but I mean, okay, who's coming off the bench? Is Chris Paul ready to do what Melo could not do at that stage of his career and accept, okay, I'm probably more of a 6th man behind
I think this is different
Fred Van
because
Vleet?
if you trade a McHale or a Cam, 2 pieces that may be part of it, I slide people down. I just go, Book, you move down a spot. I'm putting Fred Van Vleet in that backcourt with Chris Paul. Let's just get funky. Let's roll it. Let's see what we can do here. You know?
Honestly, like I think Fred Van Vleet. Listen, you're talking about a guy that did actually win the NBA Finals and was one of the leading cogs of that. And so to move Chris Paul to the bench at that point, honestly, not the worst idea. It's not the worst idea, and I think players around the league can see that Chris Paul is not the same Chris Paul. And so I don't think it would be as big a knock as if you were to get some kind of mid-level fucking point guard and then you try to make that move or whatever. Like I think point guard for point guard, I think Fred Van Vleet is probably giving you a little bit more right now than Chris Paul.
And Chris Paul has said out loud on record, and Monty's brought it up multiple times, that if I am harming the team, then I need to make sure that I'm either not playing, like he was talking about injury at that point, right? If I'm harming the team, then I need to make sure that I sit out a game and deal with whatever this lingering issue is.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to think that if he's willing enough to admit that he would be at least open to having a conversation about how this could maybe work with all of them on the same team.
That's tough.
He could be. I'm just wondering out loud, like, would he be willing to accept that? Would you need to move him elsewhere? If you did move him elsewhere, how would Book look at that? I think he would appreciate having Van Vleet in if they gelled well. Van Vleet's a really great defender. He's been in a bit of a shooting slump recently, but he would definitely help at the point guard slot. My question is, what are you trading to get him? Because like I said, Crowder and Shamet is not cutting it. Crowder and Sharch not cutting it. So are you going to be willing to go up to 1 or 2 draft picks to trade him? Are you allowed to make that trade? And if they ask for Mikal Bridges, what are you going to say?
I say yes.
Yeah.
If I, okay, there's a caveat here.
Mm-hmm.
If I believe in Cam Johnson and I see him as part of my future, I would be willing to part with Mikal to get Fred Van Vleet, because you answer your point guard question for the long term as long as Van Vleet's willing to stay around. And if you believe in Cam, then you have him as either your small forward or your power forward moving into the future. So I would be willing to look at that. And Van Vleet and Mikal have very similar salaries too. So
I would probably flip those two. I'd probably say Cam is expendable.
well, I would love to trade him for Cam, but I don't think the Raptors do that.
I mean, I think if you package Cam, Jay, and maybe a first round pick, I'm okay with that.
So Yuri in the chat thinks this would be a bad move, mostly because Van Vleet would be a rental. And there's no guarantee that he would stick around long term. Plus, with the amount of money that he was asking ahead of the season, which they didn't agree upon, is there a concern that this could be detrimental long term if we can't lock it up?
If you're trading for Van Vleet, you have to be at least somewhat confident that you are willing to offer him what Toronto would not to keep him around, because otherwise you are taking a huge gamble in terms of testing free agency waters. Because there wouldn't be a guarantee that he'd stick around. You could offer him more, but yeah, you would have to be doing this with the understanding, like, yeah, you're our guy moving forward. We're going to pay you. And as of right now, and we're assuming the ownership situation will be long dealt with by the offseason, but we don't know that yet. So,
well, and we're assuming that he's going to be willing to spend, which, you know what? We don't know. I mean,
we think
Matt
he will.
Ishbia could be cheap for all we know. We have no idea.
We think
I doubt
he will.
it. We think he'll spend. So there's a lot of ifs. There's a lot of things that you're operating in the in between on, and that's the problem with the Suns right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any any real answers to some of the bigger questions you need filled in before you make some kind of move that tries to figure out at least part of your future.
So Mark in the chat said, I don't think he's our answer long-term for the point guard spot. Are you guys, what percentage are you in on him potentially being a long-term answer?
He's not the ideal one, but I mean, there's not many point guard options out there. Like you have to trade a lot of assets to get any high. Like if you think you're getting Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, keep smoking whatever you're smoking because that's not happening. That guy's one of the premier guards in the league and is playing at an insane level right now. You know, and if you look around, the only other point guard you possibly could have gotten is the one that nobody wanted at the beginning of the season, which is in Ben Simmons. He probably could have been gettable. But even now, I would probably say that that's starting to tail off a little bit. So your options are very limited. So unless you're going to get somebody through the draft, it's probably not going to happen. You're going to look at guys that are kind of fringe, good to great players, depending on the year, and that's probably as good as you're going to get.
Look, if you don't acquire a point guard via trade, you're probably looking at Chris Paul being your point guard again next year, or one of your one of the guys on the roster, Payne, or potentially Dwayne Washington Jr., or you're getting a guy on the very cheap because you're not going to have any salary cap. So
yeah, I think the point guard question is probably an off-season one, unfortunately, as much as people are looking at what Chris Paul's doing, looking at the lack of depth behind him and saying we need to do this now. I don't think they would do that to a future Hall of Famer and the guy that helped get them to the finals midseason. I think that's something they'll look at how the season pans out, and if it goes poorly, if the playoffs go poorly, if he struggles again, then they can be like, all right, here's what we have to do. But I don't see them making that call mid-season.
Chris Paul. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, El Chino in the chat said trade for Kuz and trade CP3, make Book a point guard. Now, there's a lot of things there, but it brought up a question in my mind. Could they view Devin Booker as the point guard of the future?
No.
I don't want to do that again.
No, I don't
I'm not
either.
ruling it
Not
out.
the future. Like in the interim, if somebody is injured, fine. But I don't want that to be like.
You know how much wear and tear a point guard goes through the course of their career. Like Devin Booker's already breaking down now. Like you can't put even more of a load on him right now. Like he's giving you the max he can as a shooting guard. Now, if you want to make him the point guard, that just puts extra miles on his body, and I just don't think he will hold up over the course of time. That's not the answer. It's got to be somebody else. He's not a point guard.
No, I agree. I just thought it was an interesting thing that some people have brought up. And this whole question, this is one we're going to spend months talking about this offseason.
Chris Paul is Cliff Paul right now. And that's kind of ironic because Cliff just got fired today. And I'm kind of looking at this Cliff like,
Look, I'm not as out on Point Book as a lot of people are. I think he's a very good playmaker and he can do it, but you don't want him to do that because, like you mentioned, the wear and tear, the physical exertion it takes to dribble and set up offense and score, doing everything, that's not ideal. You want a serviceable ball handler and playmaker next to him. The question is where they're going to go for that next, especially because they don't really invest the proper resources into that in the draft.
That's the part that makes me the most upset. Is that like if we're playing the game of what ifs, that's what makes me more upset in the last like 5 years than anything else in the draft. Those what ifs. Like, yes, you can still point to the DA Luka draft, whatever, but the fact that we just have like whiffed for a couple drafts in a row now.
Just take Tyrese Halliburton, and we're not even talking about this at all.
That's what I'm
already
saying.
have our guy in house.
Gerald's default. Tyrese Halliburton
or Tyrese Maxey. They could have done him. He went like 10 picks
Tyrese.
later. Like any of the Tyrese.
But they'll take Tyree at this point.
But going back to what you were saying about Point Book, like Point Book is much like I kind of described Jock last night. You know, Jock I think is very good in spurts, right? But I don't think you can rely on him for 30 minutes a game or 25 minutes a game. It's in spurts because you're not that's not a go-to, right? That's something that, you know, I think if Jock got more and more time, he would get better over time, and I think he'd be serviceable for sure. But I think Point Book is good in spurts. But if you have to rely on that for an entire game, it ain't going to happen, and it's not going to be pretty because he's going to wear down, so it's going to suffer in the scoring. And it takes a little bit of time to get used to that. And he's never been a point guard. He's never ever been a point guard, not even in college. Like he was a 2. He's always been a 2. So why do we keep wanting to try to put him as a point? He's not that dude.
I also just think it's a little unfair to him, right? How much has Devin done for this franchise, this city, this fan base? I think it's unfair to now ask him to do this as well.
I agree.
At some point in time, that's going to this is just me from an individual, my own opinion, right? If that was the load that was put on Devin's shoulders, I'd be like, bro, I'm gonna call it a day.
Well,
I'm gonna head out.
Not only that, but
this is ridiculous now.
The biggest fear everybody always has is what? Oh, Devin Booker's gonna leave the Suns at some point, or he's gonna demand a trade, right? That was all the hoopla before they got good. Is that Devin Booker's gonna want his way out? Draymond Green talking about Devin Booker needs to get out of there, right? You put him as the point guard and put that load on him, at some point he's gonna snap and be like, dude, it's not my responsibility to bail this franchise out time after time again because they didn't prepare the draft or in free agency the way they should have to help me. Like, I'm doing everything I can to carry this franchise, and you idiots are just effing this all up. Like, you got to be better than that, and it's not on me. Everybody else has got to help. And so, I think this is on Jame Jones to try and get somebody in here to help him out in the future. They did their best with CP3. You got to give them credit for that. However, it looks like the CP3 era is going to come to an end here soon, and you got to have a backup plan. And this is the thing that's concerning me about Jame Jones is that the whole KD thing kind of illuminated for me that he never had a backup plan. He never had a what if this does not happen, where can we go next? And now the Suns are suffering for it.
He was left holding the bag. I mean, that's the reality of it. He had to wait it out, and even if he had a backup plan, they were all gone. My problem with everybody saying, well, just, kick the can down the road, get the draft pick, we'll figure it out in the offseason. No, the offseason starts now because you have to make moves before the trade deadline because, as we've talked about, the cap space is hellish going into next offseason. So if you don't make moves with the expiring contracts now, you're going to be left holding the bag again because you're not going to be able to pay anybody this offseason.
Yep.
So then you're just bringing everybody back, and we saw how well that worked. So for me, the offseason's already started in terms of prepping for it and getting in pieces that you can either re-sign in this offseason or that are already under contract for future seasons. That's why this is so important. We're a month away from the trade deadline, and they need to figure this out. They need to be players. And again, there's so many things that could prevent that could hamstring them into the summer too.
So bringing it back full circle as far as VanVleet and what they need to do, I personally would not be on board with giving up Mikal. VanVleet is averaging just under 19 points and 6 assists. He's also shooting 38% from the floor, 33% from 3, and he's 28 years old. So he's about to turn 29. So it's not like he's this young guard that's just going to keep getting better and better. There's a ceiling for this. So I don't think VanVleet would be worth what it would take to get him. And the questions that it would raise as far as, okay, now what are you doing with Chris Paul? Are you trading him? Are you benching him? How are you going about that? But I do think the Raptors are obviously a team to keep an eye on. Everybody in the league is looking at them are they going to blow it up? They might not have a full fire sale, but will somebody become available for a price that's a little bit lower? Maybe.
I think Gary Trent Jr., the name that is being said it could be traded there, that is in discussions, would be an interesting option depending on if you actually could get him. I don't know if you're willing to give up a draft pick to make that happen, but that's a guy that certainly could come in and score for you and then could be an option to re-sign, in the offseason.
Well, speaking of Jame Jones, I know a lot of people in the Suns space are very upset with him right now. Obviously, you have to take into consideration that there might be some limitations to what Jame Jones is allowed to do based on the reports we've heard around what Robert Sarver still has control over. But I did find this new piece of information a little bit interesting, and I think we should talk about it. So Josh Robbins, who covers the Wizards for The Athletic, reported that he heard that Rui Hachimura was never actually offered for Jae Crowder.
Mhm.
And then Brendan Clean, friend of the program, went and shared like a thread of all the things that have kind of come out from different reporters throughout the last few days and weeks. And so first and foremost, Zach Lowe said on his podcast last week that rival teams are never able to get a read on James Jones and often don't know how to manage trade talks with the Suns. Went on to say that Windhorse reported a couple weeks ago that other NBA teams viewed it as a, quote, challenging to deal with the Suns in Crowder talks because their price is so high. And then you've had Stein, Fisher, and even Gambo here locally reporting that the Suns have walked away from multiple trade opportunities in Bojan and Gordon because they were unwilling to include enough picks to make that deal happen. So all of this combined poses so many questions.
Mm-hmm.
If the Rui thing, if he wasn't actually offered for Jae Crowder, who leaked that? Why did they leak it? What's actually going on behind closed doors? Is James Jones being overly greedy when it comes to Jae Crowder? Do other teams just not want Jae Crowder? They don't value him in ways that the Suns front office does? Or is it just a mess going on up there?
Want to put a tinfoil hat on? I've got
Yes.
somebody. I think there could be some misdirection PR going on here. James Jones could very well be sitting there with his hands tied, right?
Mhm.
Can't really make a move. So but he also knows he doesn't want the fan base to turn, right? So he
Mhm.
goes out there and he's trying to make deals, having talks with this astronomical asking price for Jae Crowder, full well knowing he's not in a position to really make any Jae Crowder deal of any significance. So by asking for so much, he knows he's not going to get it, but there can be talk that they're trying to make a move there. Keeps him in the discussion. The other thing could be that he's trying to drive up the price for Jae Crowder by leaking, hey, we've had these talks with X, Y, and Z, when really it could have been one phone call where it's like, hey, are you interested in this? The Rui thing is the interesting one to me, where if that was leaked from the Sun side, that very much to me says, hey, we're trying to do something here. Because we heard something got leaked that earlier this year that we thought may have come from the Suns front office, and it may have been the initial report that they couldn't trade the first round picks. I think that's what it was, and we were saying, hey, if that's really the case, the only person that would leak that is somebody within the Suns front office saying, hey, our hands are tied here.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of things happening here, and it could be the Suns front office trying to cover their ass a little bit, trying to make it feel like there's action because they know there needs to be, but they may not be able to do it.
Yeah, it could be the James Jones thing. Hands are tied. It could be trying to signal to the fan base I'm trying, and trying to boost Jae Crowder's value. It could also just be the Wizards are floating this out there because Rui Hachimura has been playing really well recently, and they're like, hey, no, we still love you, man. That never happened. So you just never know with this stuff, and that's why it's frustrating to me, because you never know whose agenda is being pushed, which side it's leaking from. You can guess, but we'll probably never know the truth with what's going on with the Suns right now.
It's like this quarter in my hand. It disappears. It never happened.
Wow, I
It
never
never-
thought we were going to have a magic
Magic.
episode.
It's the Wizards. That's why it's magic.
There you go.
It's all an illusion.
Yeah. Listen, you just never know what everybody's agenda is. That's the bottom line. You never know who's trying to do what. They talked about the draft picks part of this. What if they asked for like 4 first-round picks for Bojan? It's whatever. It really is. It's insignificant.
It's worth, I don't know, if you want to kind of go down the rabbit hole of conspiracies, it is a fun exercise to do because it is interesting at the very least, whether it's coming from the Wizards trying to save face or the Suns trying to save face or all these other GMs maybe trying to drive down the price of Jae Crowder as well. There's a lot of people who have different agendas here. It's just interesting because we've been talking about this for the entire
Months.
season now.
Yeah.
And it's just at some point in time, we're going to start questioning James Jones naturally, because it's like, you're not sharing any information with us. You're saying constantly over and over that you're actively trying to move Jae Crowder. And then we had Monty at the start of the season hoping he would be moved before the season even started. So What's the holdup? It would be great if, and we're never going to get the answers,
Nope.
but it would be great if we could just get a small fraction of the answers that gives us like the holdup is the selling of the team. As simple as that. Like I'd be like, okay, I get it.
They kind of tried to,
And then
say
I would
that.
back off.
I think it's the sort. Look,
No,
look
because
at the
he went
breadcrumbs.
on record the very next day and said that it's not.
But if
It's
he
all
says,
lies.
but if he says, "Yep, I can't make any moves," nobody's ever calling then because you've already said I can't do anything. So you've put yourself at a competitive disadvantage.
But if
I
you
don't-
can't do anything, then why do you want people to call you in the first place?
because you
Maybe you may as well just turn off your phone.
because you
Take
have
a
to.
vacation.
You
It's
have
like
to
when-
keep active.
It's like when your friends go out without you and they don't invite you.
You just wanna
didn't
be
want to
invited.
go anyway. You just wanted to be
Because-
invited.
But
Like,
he needs to be prepared at any moment.
Can relate.
But he needs to be prepared at any moment that all of a sudden this ownership situation is resolved. That they vote
Yeah.
Matt Ishbia in, and all of a sudden the handcuffs are off. If he's not taking any calls, he's not going to be in a position to strike if the opportunity happens. So he has to go out there with the public face of, "Oh, I can do whatever I want." Because if you're saying no, I can't, you're just saying I'm sitting here doing nothing because I can't, and that bad look, and it keeps you where you can't, you can't have any discussion when you can make a move.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't know. It's just a whole mess. Makes us thankful for Four Peaks beer, where we could just sit back, scroll through, and then continue to scroll on along while we enjoy our Four Peaks beer. If you guys want to enjoy some Four Peaks beer, come hang out with us and Four Peaks at our inaugural Tee Party this upcoming Friday, the 13th at Dobson Ranch Golf Course. This is going to be a heck of a lot of fun. We're mixing golf with Suns basketball and so many more things. So you can come on out. You get unlimited range time. And we'll also have the Suns versus the Timberwolves game live on all of the TVs out there. Four Peaks will be out there. Some additional partners of ours will be out there. So we'll have food and beverages. In addition to the golf, we also have secondary games and contests that we'll be playing, like pickleball, ping pong, cornhole.
Free throw
Oh, wow,
contest, right?
Yeah, 3-point contest.
That's
Yeah.
what I was
Yeah.
told those would be there.
Pickleball.
This says right there, pickleball.
Yeah, Max is gonna play pickleball because he doesn't want this work.
Oh,
Pickleball. All right.
But it's going to be a lot of fun, and we want you guys to come hang out with us and fellow diehards again at the Dobson Ranch Golf Course this Friday the 13th. You can get all of the information and your tickets at the link in the description of this video or podcast platform, whatever platform you are listening to or watching this on. The link's in the description, so plan that for this upcoming Friday.
We have a ton of people coming. It's gonna be.
It's going to
awesome.
be a blast.
I have a question, Lindsay. Are you taking
Yes.
performance enhancers?
Yes.
Because your transition game has been spot on
Oh,
this week.
thanks.
So
Please don't random drug test me.
I want off this ride.
you're welcome to leave at any point. So.
Oh dear.
Don't.
Did you just say I want all
I
this
have,
ride?
I have done this before. I have left the show mid-show.
If you leave this show, Saul, we're fighting.
I just have an empty seat right here.
We are fighting.
Blame Espo.
Oh dear.
Speaking of fighting, we
Yes.
all are in a competition of our lives on the
Oh,
DraftKings
I thought you were
Sportsbook
gonna-
app
Look at that.
shenanigans
Again.
right
I
now.
thought you were going to announce the new Fight Club we started.
Thankfully, today we
We don't
can all
talk
take a
about Fight
break
Club,
from the
Saul.
competition because it is not a Suns game day. However, I think that we should still provide a pick of the week to
Mhm.
all of our wonderful listeners out there. Do you
I
guys
got-
have one today?
I got one. Lick the toad and bet the money line on TCU.
Go Frogs, baby! Let's
National
go!
championship, baby.
See,
Oh, man.
this is a bet we can all get behind because it's like it's a part of the family, right?
Yeah.
So this is your wife's alma mater.
It
So
is.
I support this pick of the week
There you go.
100%. Let's go.
You always
And they
gotta have
wear
the wife's
purple.
back.
They were purple.
There
Yeah,
you
they were
go.
purple.
Support the
There you go.
purple.
Gerald almost went there. So many
Yeah.
reasons to make this
He
your
wanted
pick
to
of
be
the
a
week.
preppy cowboy.
I did
Yeah.
not want to be a
He
player.
did.
Nobody
And
wants
as soon
to
as
be.
I said that, Mac was like, "Oh my god, I should have gone to TCU." I was like, "Yes, you should have."
Oh
Does it-
my gosh.
Does a preppy cowboy not actually ride the horse, but just drive a Mustang?
No, they have like fancy pants and like the
Like
best
blinged
boots.
out boots.
Yeah,
Like they got a little bit dazzling
yeah,
going
like
on
every
them.
single TCU alum that I saw last weekend all had like the best jeans. They were all crisp, and then they had these like fancy ass boots.
Do they have a
and
really
then they had
big, like blingy belt
They
buckle?
always had the big blingy belt buckle, and then they had like a nice cowboy hat and
Nobody's
a
riding a
shirt.
horse dressed like that.
No.
Nobody's riding a horse dressed
Not
like
even
It's
a
the
little bit.
aesthetic.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not functional.
Big
It's
money
the
cowboys.
aesthetic.
Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, all new and existing customers can get a no sweat bet each day of the wild card round this weekend. Just place any NFL bet of your choice, and if it loses, you'll get a free bet back up to $10 on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code PHNX. New customers, you guys can bet $5 on the NFL and get $100 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with the code PHNX. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. We did get a super chat from T Bounty Bay. Thank you for your super chat. They said, shout out to Brendan Clean. Yes, shout out to Brendan Clean, who is in our chat right now. Hi, Brendan. Thank you for the thread you put together today that we were able to discuss a little bit. Guys, we have really exciting news.
Yeah.
Do we?
For the first time ever
Oh,
in the history of PHNX,
Is that true?
as far as I'm aware,
Okay.
Gerald Bourguet has a game for us, you guys.
Oh.
And I'm so excited for this because he's so excited for this.
There we go.
Oh, we got the actual horn.
Let's go.
We've
No,
always
no.
had the actual horn.
Never wins for me. I always
You gotta be ready with the click. You can't just wait for us
You
to
gotta-
cue it up.
You got to be
That's
that
your
Yeah.
job.
How long does it take for your arm to go from right to left and hit the button?
Got to be quicker than that.
I didn't do anything.
Speaking of that, can you hit the button to play the intro to Gerald's game? It's the game sweeping the nation. It's Let's Make a 10-Day Deal with your host, Gerald Bourguet.
Hey, where's the clap on that, Emma? See, that's what I'm talking about.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome to Let's Make a 10-Day Deal. We are going to be talking about the Phoenix Suns today because we always talk about the Phoenix Suns, and they desperately need some help on the 10-day front. They've never had a 15th roster spot. Jae Crowder sitting at home. Cam Johnson is injured, and they have all kinds of guys out. So how this game works is I am going to introduce a player that is currently an unsigned free agent. We're going to go around the horn, and you're going to give me a simple yay or nay with your thoughts on why this player would help the Suns or why they're not even worth a look at this point.
Are you giving us points based on our answers?
Not at all. This game has no point.
No winners. My favorite
Just
kind of game.
Much like signing a 10-day contract, this has no point.
Exactly. He's getting the theme. We're all in hell and nothing's going to change. So let's play. Let's make a 10-day deal.
Let's go.
Oh my god.
Standing at an even 6 feet, this vertically
Nope.
challenged king is the name everyone's talking about. At 32 years old, this former UConn star had a 32-7-5 game for the Mavs in December, averaging 8 points and 42% shooting in his stint with Dallas. He just got waived 3 days ago, so he is very much available. He is Kemba Walker. Espo.
Walk this yay.
Oh, we've got a yay on the board.
Oh, yeah, I'm also a yay. Why not? Give you a few buckets. Let's go.
Yay! Come on down.
All right, we've
Kemba
got
Walker.
yays across
All
the
right.
board. That makes it unanimous
That's a
with
Kemba
myself.
three-way right there. Let's go.
Menage a trois.
Oh, no, that's so bad. All right, moving on. A 20-year NBA veteran, this 38-year-old is one of the most prolific scorers of all time. Known more so for his playoff success in college than in the pros, he just averaged 13 points and 44% shooting from three last year for the Lakers. He's a longtime friend of Chris Paul, certified banana boat buddy, and notorious hoodie aficionado. He is Carmelo Anthony. Espo, you're on the board.
We all need to mellow out a bit. I'm a yay.
I agree. I'm an absolute yay. I need buckets. That's all I want. Buckets. Who's giving me buckets? Carmelo is.
We all gonna be hoodie mellow here in just a
Let's
few
go.
short days.
Let's
Give me
go.
a yay.
Let's
So
go.
we have 0 Carmelo no's and all Carmelo Anthony's. Let's move on to our third contestant. At 31 years old, this sharpshooter only played 7 games between the Nets and Bucks last season, but shot 42% from 3 his last year with the Suns 2 years ago. He's familiar with the organization, knows Monty Williams' system, and bringing him back would mean it's another day to be great. He is Langston Galloway.
Langston Galla, yeah!
He's catching on.
No.
Langston Gallo, nay.
No, yeah. Langston Galloway, yes.
I can't think of something clever, but I'm a yay. Let's do it. Come on down.
All right, let's go with our next contestant. Standing at 6'10" and 27 years young, this former top 10 pick just got traded from the Celtics to the Spurs and immediately waived. He holds career averages of 4.7 points and 4.9 rebounds.
You're talking dirty.
Just averaged 1 point and 2 rebounds for the Celtics this year. Didn't play the year prior and hasn't played a significant role since he was on the Knicks back in 2018-19. So you know we're getting desperate here. He is Noah Vonleh.
A big no on that one, my friend.
Noah Vonleh, let's go.
Yes.
I absolutely am on board Noah Vonleh. I don't give a shit.
I refuse to say no to anything. Yay. Come on. Let's go.
Noah Vonleh. Moving on. At 36 years old, this 3-time Sixth Man of the Year and multiple partner boyfriend hasn't been seen since last season with the Atlanta Hawks. He's a walking 6'1" bucket with no time for efficiency. Drake wrote a song about him, and he taught the world how good Magic City's lemon pepper wings are. He is Lou Will. Espo, you're on the board.
He can handle a double team, so I'm saying yeah.
Oh my gosh. Unlike the wings he likes, he is not flat. I say yay as well.
Ooh, you guys are so clever, and I can't. I feel like I do not thrive under pressure, but I am Team Yay.
Team yay for Lou Williams. All right.
PHNX Scotty, I just said no to Langston Galloway. Get off my ass.
Yeah, that's me, PHNX Scotty, or PHX Scotty. That's me.
Oh my God. All right. This 6'10" stretch forward just won a title with the Golden State Warriors. He's not exactly fleet of foot, but he spreads the floor as a career 38% 3-point shooter. He's currently playing for Fenerbahce overseas, so I'm not even sure how his contract situation would work. He is Nemanja Bjelica. Espo.
Bjelica.
Nemanja, no.
Yeah, no, that's a no for me, dog.
Bjelica, yay!
Bjelica, yay. And we've got Nemanja Bjelicas over here. All right. This is where it gets interesting.
Hold on. Did you only pick names that ride with yay or nay on this?
It was a factor.
It was a category.
It was a
yes.
factor. All right. This former Suns point guard is a current Shanghai Shark, averaging 17 points per game in the Chinese Basketball Association. He's a 6'1" guard known more for his athleticism than his playmaking. He was the scapegoat holding the Milwaukee Bucks back. He's been known to frequent hair salons, and who knows if he'd even want to be here this time. He is Eric Bledsoe.
Bledno.
Well done.
I love chaos. Bring it all on. I want Bledsoe back. Let's go.
Yeah,
Love
I'll
it.
go to the hair salon with you as well, Eric Bledsoe. Come on down.
Eric Bledsoe, come on down. Second to last one, gang. Another former Sun. This combo guard is currently a member of the Brisbane Bullets. He's a 6'3" lefty who split 6 games between the Sixers and Spurs last year, was arguably the Suns' best point guard back in 2018-19, and he's basketball's Moe's from The Office. He is Tyler Johnson.
Anytime you say was the best point guard prior to Chris Paul getting here, I'm going to say no. I'm good. I seen Tyler Johnson too much.
We shared hot pot together, but I gotta say no to my guy Tyler Johnson.
Did you
It's
really?
a Ty Johnson for me. Let's go. Bring him on.
Did you really share a hot pot with Tyler Johnson?
Well, he was sitting he was in a booth all by himself, and me and my family were waiting to sit down, and he was all by himself. He was done. And so I walked over to him and I was like, Tyler, he was like, oh, hey, because he remembered that I covered him.
Huh.
And he was just like, I was like, are you done?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah. Can you leave so I can sit down? He's like, oh, yeah, I got you.
That's pretty
That was
neat.
it.
Oh, there we go.
You totally would ask him that. Can you leave?
Yeah.
I was like, are you fucking done? He was like, I was waiting for this girl, so she never showed.
That was kind of the way James Jones handled it, too. Hey, can you kind of just leave?
Oh,
All right.
that's pretty neat. Never knew that. And finally, we've saved the best for last, since that's exactly what this player did, dropping 51 points in his last game with the
Oh my
Suns.
God.
He's a 42-year-old guard with the smoothest handles in NBA history, a 3-time Sixth Man of the Year, and arguably Lindsey Smith's favorite player of all time. He is Jamal Crawford. Espo, you're on the board.
No.
He can cross over into retirement for real.
Oh, man.
That's a no.
You both suck. That's 100% yay. Jamal Crawford, come on home.
All right.
Come on home.
Well,
He will be covering the Suns tomorrow on TNT.
Yeah,
I think
so
it's
he could
about
just
as close
stay
as
here.
you're gonna
Really?
get. Yeah.
So
Will
he
you
could
be
just
here?
stay
No,
here.
he's on the Tuesday
in
players
Atlanta?
only in Atlanta.
Oh.
well, our contestants performed admirably, but there is still a lightning round to
Ooh,
sort out.
yeah!
So this time we're going to go even quicker, starting with Espo and going to Saul and Lindsay. I say a name, you give me a simple yay or nay. Derek Favors.
No.
No.
Yay.
Marquise Chris.
Hell no.
Fuck no.
Yay.
What the hell's wrong with you, Lindsay? You said yes to everybody.
I know.
Eric Pascal.
Who?
Yay.
No.
Al Farouk Aminu.
Nope.
Yay.
Did you just curse at me?
Excuse, because I'm tight. Tyler Dorsey.
Yay.
Oh, hell yeah.
C.
Mo
That,
Harkless.
that might be my most favorite one of the whole list.
Yeah.
Tyler Dorsey.
I like him.
I love me some Tyler Dorsey.
Mo Harkless.
Mo,
Yay.
no.
Nope.
Rodney Hood.
Yay.
I'm not down with the hood.
Yay.
Bringing back Tyshawn Alexander.
Yay.
Who?
No.
Dwayne Bacon.
Oh, I'm down for anything bacon.
Yay.
No.
Etwan Moore.
Yay.
Each one less. No.
DJ Augustine.
Yay.
No.
What year is this? 2010?
Yeah,
no.
basically. Are these 10-day contracts from 2012?
Trey Burke.
Yay.
No.
Michael Carter Williams.
Yay.
No.
He is a rookie of the year. Why the hell not? Yay.
Helping with next year's LeBron pitch, Mario Chalmers.
Yay. Bring him
No.
in. He knows James Jones. Why the hell not?
Carson Edwards.
Yay.
Would rather have Carson Palmer.
No. Yes, I like that one.
Rajon Rondo.
Yay.
Ooh. Yay. Yay.
Yay. Why not?
Isaiah Thomas.
Yay.
Yay.
And let's end with some
hold on, hold on.
negativity.
I'm no on the one from Washington. Yay on the one from Detroit.
Washington, Detroit.
Washington Huskies.
Oh, okay. I see
Detroit
what he did there. I
Pistons.
see there.
Isaiah Thomas.
He's talking about NBA legend
No,
and
I got it,
champion
I got it,
Isaiah Thomas without the second.
But he
A.
didn't meet the criteria, so fuck him.
And ending with some
You
negativity.
didn't even give me credit for that. See what I did there?
I saw what you did there. I appreciate that.
All right.
Ending the game with some negativity because
Ha!
I know everyone in the chat has been waiting for this name. Mr. Elfrid Payton.
You can never have too many Alfred Paytons.
Yay.
But I'm going to disagree with you, Monty, because you're full of shit. Nay.
Yay, but only if you grew the hair
Why
back
would
that goes
you
over
say
his
yay
face.
to Alfred Payton?
Because I
Did
think he
you
can
not-
play better with no vision.
Not you. I'm talking about Lizzie. Did you not sit through the tragedy that was EP3 last year?
Yes.
Or EP2 or whatever his
Listen,
number was?
I purposely knew I was going to say yes to everything here because I have reached the point in time where I'm like, throw everything at the wall, and if anything sticks, I'm happy.
Oh, that's another good one. Aaron Baines.
Yay.
Oh.
I'm at literally at the point where I throw everything against the wall
Okay.
and see what
Who is
sticks.
the-
We
Who
have
is-
one Australian big man, and that is enough. Jacques fills that bucket for me.
Oh, man.
If you couldn't tell, the theme of Let's Make a 10-Day Deal is we're very desperate and could use any help
Let's
right
challenge this theory of how far Lindsay's willing to say yes
Let's
to.
not.
Let's go.
Because there are things that we have not discussed publicly on this
it's
show
okay. No,
that we've
this
discussed
is
privately
not
that
bad.
probably should
This
stay
is-
private.
This is not bad. No, this is bad.
Abdul Nader.
No, this is not bad. Like if we're talking about bringing former players back or bringing former people back, Robert Sarver.
Oh, God.
How the hell does that help us?
He hasn't gone yet.
None of
That's
these guys help
that's
us.
the problem.
No.
We've literally thrown Robert Sarver at the wall and it slid down every time. We already
God,
know if it's going to
'cause he's
stick
I
or
wish I
not.
could have thrown it at the
It's
wall.
not going to stick. We tried it.
He hasn't left yet,
For
Saul.
over a decade.
You can't
So
bring
is
him
that
back
a
in
no?
yet.
That's enough.
Ah, let's
Shimmer
go.
for debt. God.
Me playing this game, I'm just like Elmo with the flames behind me watching chaos go on right now.
I'm so desperate. Bring back my buddy Archie Goodwin.
Archie
Yeah.
Bring him
Goodwin.
back.
Archie
What
was
is
really nice, though.
what
He
is
was
he
always
up
nice
to
to
these
me.
days?
Bring back Brandon Knight so I can see him get dunked on a million times again.
Oh, no.
Euphoria said 100% that guy from the 36ers.
Yeah.
I'm
Whoever
not
that
mad
guy's
at
name
that.
is, yes.
I'm not mad at
Didn't he
that.
Oh, no. Okay, never mind. I thought she was talking about him.
Gerald, that was fantastic.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed the
I
game.
had a blast with that. we learned a lot about people who we might be able to see sign a 10-day. And we also had fun at the same time. I loved your voice.
Guess how many of these dudes were actually signed?
0.
So, not to make it a negative, but we loved this game. But Espo, you did bring this up on the post-game show last night, and I think it's worth mentioning one more time that it seems as though the likelihood of the Suns actually utilizing a 10-day contract are pretty slim to none. Yeah. Do you guys think, what's the percentage that you would say you would be willing to throw out there as that the Suns would use a 10-day?
Between now and the trade deadline, I think it's like 5%, unless they get to a point where too many guys are injured and they have to.
2%.
That's God.
Gerald?
Some milk has a higher percentage than that. I was gonna say
thanks, Gerald.
I was gonna say 5. I'll go 10 just because we don't know. Like if Chris Paul misses tonight, I'll say 10. If Chris Paul's back tonight, then I'll drop it down to 5.
If he's back tonight, I'm impressed.
Or I'm sorry, tomorrow night. Tomorrow night.
No, I think I'm with you, Gerald. If Chris Paul misses a few games, or if he misses tomorrow night's game, and behind the scenes they know he's likely to miss a handful of games, and if DeAndre misses tomorrow night's game, then I for sure think that they'll probably you kind of have to. Almost at that point, you're literally down your entire starting unit. So I feel like you kind of have to. But if Chris Paul and DA are both playing tomorrow, then I think it drops to closer to probably the 5% range that you guys are closer to there.
PHNX Scotty says Steve Nash is available. Why not? Let him sign for 10 days and retire as a Sun. I love it.
There we go. Maybe he can add a little bit of information, too, that he learned throughout his coaching career.
There's not that much he learned.
So I told you guys about the tea party that we're going to be hosting this upcoming Friday, and I mentioned that Four Peaks will be out there and some of our additional partners. Well, one of those partners is OG's Brands. You guys know that we love OG's here at PHNX. Not only do they have a phenomenal product, but their crew and the company and the people who work for them are also really phenomenal people. And they're going to come and hang out with us at the PHNX Tee Party. So if you are new into OGs, maybe you haven't tried them or checked them out, that's also a great opportunity where you can come learn more about the brand, learn more about the products. You can try some of their flavors because they're bringing unmedicated samples to the tea party so that you can just try the flavors to see which ones might be of interest to you if you are looking at purchasing some of their products. The one that I'm really excited to try out is the strawberries and cream, which is one of their brand new flavors. And that is their CBD THC Happy Balance ratio flavor. So if you want to get to know a little bit more about OGs, of course, come hang out with us at the tea party. But you can also find them online at ogsbrands.com, or you can find them at your local dispensary. But again, you must be 21 years or older, and we ask that you enjoy responsibly.
They are fat guy approved.
Tomorrow, in all seriousness, and I don't really get serious on this show very often, but you should take an OGs before the game starts so that way you can have fun during the game. I promise you it'll be worth your while because that's the only way right now we can enjoy these games.
You could also maybe enjoy them a smidge if you get on the Underdog Fantasy app. Because then what you can do is if you really are angry at the Suns, you could basically pick your team against the Suns.
Spite bet. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You go on the Underdog Fantasy app, right? You get your friends and it's like around the Suns game, but you pick the opponents. And then it's like daily fantasy sports and you can win some money. So if you bet against the Suns, essentially, then you can win money. And so then at the end of the day, if the Suns do win, it's still a win.
I believe
but if they don't win, it's still a win on the Underdog Fantasy app too.
I believe it's called an emotional hedge.
Yes, there you go. Exactly. So one way or the other, you're going to end up with a W. It's really easy to get started on the Underdog Fantasy app. You can just go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app, but make sure you sign up with that promo code PHNX, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. If you are new into fantasy sports, we do have a fantasy show here at PHNX that happens every single week. It's all in our YouTube. So if you guys want to check that out, it can help you kind of get acclimated into the app, into the fantasy world. And it's also just it's a lot of fun. It's a great conversation if you are even like a pro in the fantasy space. So make sure you guys check it out. We do have a super chat from Trevor. Trevor, thank you so much for your super chat. Said how much faith you guys have that a deal will get done.
I'll put it at a 5% chance at this point.
Wow,
Yeah,
really? You're
that's-
lower on a deal than a 10-day?
I just don't know what they're capable of doing. And if it's what James Jones said when he has full autonomy, okay, what are you waiting for? And if it's my hands are tied, that's not going to change at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
So until I'm a doubting Tom until I see the light. I'm not going to believe it.
I'm lower than you guys. I'm at like 2.5%. Like I have no belief in this right now because I've heard too many things that they can't trade a pick. They can't trade a salary. Sarver's got a hold of the wheel. You're not getting Ishbia until March. Until any of that changes, I hear anything to the contrary. I just don't think a deal can get done, and it's the worst case scenario for this team.
We haven't even seen a 10-day contract, let alone a trade.
I'm 100% on board with these guys. I'll just hedge my bet and say 3.5% to be somewhere in the middle.
There we go.
3.75% for you math majors.
Attaboy.
This is really sad.
Where are you at, Liz?
There's nothing saying.
I would like to at least be at 50%. I would like it to be a toss-up.
You can be as high as you want.
I mean,
I
you can feel
mean-
that way.
Yeah, you're entitled to feel however you feel.
I'm going to hold on to 50%.
All right.
Lindsay's like the woman in Titanic, just holding on to that door. Like
There's
she's
not
gonna
room
let Jack
for both
drown,
of us.
but she's holding on to that door.
There is
You're
not
drowning.
room for both of us. Mike B said 85% a deal will get done.
Oh man. Okay.
Trevor, what's your thought? Let us know what you think in the chat. How much faith do you have?
Unfortunately, that 85% that Mike B has is that deal is going to be Jae Crowder getting bought out. So,
See, that would piss me off.
I wouldn't. If they can't find a trade, screw you. You're sitting there. I'm not buying you out to go
Yeah.
help somebody.
That
I'll
would
You've
pay
be
you all
already
the
paid
down
this
money.
much?
Yeah.
No.
malpractice as
I would
a
be
GM.
so angry.
It would be malpractice as a GM. You've let that roster spot sit occupied with a guy who's not helping you all season long, only to buy him out because you made the mistake of saying, "Oh yeah, we'll mutually agree to do this, and we'll give you." Like that would be awful if that's what became of this, because that doesn't help you at all. It doesn't free up money or anything.
No.
Like you're screwed.
Yeah. That would make me angry. I would throw a chair. Okay, I wouldn't. I would throw this coaster though.
We downgraded significantly from a full-fledged chair like the Hulk
To a little coaster.
Well, because
right.
I would have the emotion inside to throw a chair,
Uh.
but in reality, I would just throw a
All right.
coaster.
I'll stomp my foot down on my stool.
Oh my gosh.
I'll throw my stool. That
Okay.
stool.
The kind you stand.
That stool.
This stool. No, I like this stool. I want to keep it. Okay, so
Jesus, I wasn't even thinking about that.
I knew he was. Though.
I wasn't. Do you said?
Matt asked us a question early on in the show. They said, how many games under 500 do we need to be before we could become, quote, sellers? So let's talk a little bit about this tanking thing here, because there's been a lot of people who are team tank, and there are a lot of people who are like, not quite yet. Espo, how do you feel?
My arms don't look good outside of sleeves, so I'm not on team tank. Oh, we're not talking about that kind of tank. We're talking the act of losing on purpose. Well, right now, technically you are tanking, but not on purpose.
Right.
And look, I don't think that's going to stop in the foreseeable future, but I'm still of the mindset I got to wait until they reevaluate Book and understand just how long he's going to be out. If he's coming back by the end of January, I do not. I want that lottery ticket to get in the playoffs and see what happens if you're healthy, right? And I don't know how much being sellers benefits you if you're not getting anything of quality back, because, again, this team is going to have a very rough offseason in terms of the cap, so you're going to have to get creative. I don't see the benefit of tanking quite yet, because you look at the win percentage they had with Booker here. He's good enough just coming back into this lineup to get them in the playoffs and potentially making some noise if you get a Cam Johnson back shooting well, because DA and McHale become much better when you have Booker, because they're not the focus. So then when you're a third or fourth option, they get better because the defense isn't focused on them. So much hinges on Booker, and like I said last night on the show, I'm not putting him through another losing on purpose unless he's out. Like, he can deal with it if he's not playing.
I'll say this right now. If Devin Booker misses at least the next 10 to 15 games, I think the Suns probably lose about 90% of those games, and I think you are definitely in tank territory, if not have solidified it, because at that point you have lost at least 30 games with only 30 left to go, and there's not much hope on trying to get to one of those top 10 spots in the West, and it would be really, really, really tough. And honestly, let's be real about this. The way the roster is constructed, we've seen this before with like the Spurs back in the day in the 90s where Robinson got hurt and that whole team was basically scrubbed down to shit, and they got the number 1 overall pick the next year and they got Tim Duncan. And then they won a championship right after that. Like, so this might not be the worst thing in the world if you're able to, if you are able to get a top lottery pick and then you ended up somehow getting a top 3 pick and maybe you get Wembayama or you get Scoot, because clearly roster construction is not James Jones' strong suit and drafting is not his strong suit either. So
the job isn't his strong suit.
So maybe you just have to rely on the fact that you have to go with 2 no doubt prospects and that'll be it and save your ass.
So correct me, am I correct in that Devin will be reevaluated around the 22nd?
Around the 25th. They announced that it would be a 4-week reevaluation period on December 28th, which would put it at January 25th. So there are 9 games in between now and then. Best case scenario, he would be back for the 28th or the 26th.
So you're thinking if we lose 90% of the next 10 to 15 games, Devin's already going to miss basically 10 games. So
if he's reevaluated and cleared on the 25th, that's 9 games. Let's say worst case scenario, they lose all 9.
Which is feasible.
It's feasible. They're 20-30. I think they'll get a win in there somewhere. I think they'll catch a Minnesota sleeping, or maybe, I mean, they've got Charlotte in that mix. Like Charlotte,
I mean, KD might be out for the Brooklyn game.
KD might be out for the Brooklyn game. You never know.
Yeah, most likely.
Kyrie could literally win the game all by himself
but
against these guys.
My thing is, I think this is going to sound like the weirdest thing ever, but the Suns are actually, like, either way, I think a good thing can happen. Like, if they get healthy, they're only 3 games back of Dallas for the 4 seed right now. Despite losing 6 straight, despite losing 15 of their last 20. Like, I know we keep talking about no one's running away with the top of the West. Nobody in the middle is creating any separation at all. So if they get Cam Johnson back in the next week or 2, if they get Devin Booker back maybe a week after the reevaluation period, they're still within striking distance and they still have 2 full months to make up ground. So I don't think you intentionally tank. I don't think you approach the trade deadline as sellers, but I will say you approach the deadline with a new perspective on how valuable your 2023 draft pick is. Yes. Because if Booker re-aggravates it, if you have more injury problems, like that pick could become really valuable. So I'm not trading that pick this year unless it's for like a certified guy like a Pascal Siakam or some other star that becomes available out of nowhere. So I think, like, if this is a lost season and injuries just keep piling up, then yeah, you naturally let them keep piling up. You take your top 10 pick and you go from there. But I think it's way too early to say the season is done, or that even if they struggle without Book for the next 2 weeks, they're still going to be in range.
But if they lose 9, let's just say this this devil's advocate thing, right?
Right.
If they lose 9 more in a row, there's not going to be a single player on that team that believes they can win anything until Devin Booker comes back. Yeah, and even if Devin Booker comes back, how much can he really pull these guys out of the funk that they have clearly put themselves in for the last 2 months?
But I don't know if it's a funk as far as obviously they're frustrated.
If they lose game 1 with Devin Booker back,
I don't want. Look, they have been fighting their asses off the last handful of games. We know that they're at a disadvantage from talent, from execution standpoints. They just don't have the horses right now, but they haven't stopped fighting. And I think that's part of why they're frustrated, is because they believe they should still be winning games. The rest of us don't agree with that, obviously. We know that they're just not as good as other teams are playing right now. But I do think they're not going to, if they lose 9 more straight games, they're going to be very demoralized. But I don't think it's a situation where anyone on this team is under the illusion like, yeah, we suck. Yeah, once Book comes back and Cam Johnson comes back, we're still going to suck. I think they're very much looking forward to that and saying, we're working on shit now that could help us once those guys come back. That's how they're approaching it. I know a lot of us are panicking and don't agree with that, and that's fine. But I just don't see it in their DNA to lose that many games in a row, A, and B, start despairing.
The Spurs comparison to me too isn't apropos. Robinson was out from the beginning of the year. They went in with the mentality that they were doing that on purpose. They didn't shift midstream with a bunch of guys and a bunch of good guys and a superstar and tank on purpose. Like, I think that could be more detrimental to your future and the mentality and how these guys handle
you don't have to
things.
worry about their mindset changing because clearly Monty is not capable of adjusting.
So we're at 6 losses in a row, right?
Yes.
6 straight?
Mm-hmm.
If they lose the next 9, that would be 15 straight games that this team has dropped.
I can tell you right now, they're not going to lose their next 9.
That would be insane.
They're not going to lose their
know
next 9.
this team with all these injuries right now is bad. It's rough. But to lose 15 games in a row would be insane.
It would be insane. And I mean, I'm on board with Gerald. I don't think that it's likely to happen. But, again, this is an exercise in what ifs, right? In
Right.
thought, right? And so, again, hello, things change, things adapt. I'm capable of adjusting. And 5 days ago, Saul was like, quote, stop the tank talk. Today, quote, maybe it's an option. Yeah, maybe it is an option because I've watched this team play basketball the last several times and I'm like, man, they're just not good. They're just not good. DA's not doing what he needs to do to help this team. Mikhail's not doing what he needs to do to help this team. CP3 is injured. Cam Johnson's injured. Payne is injured. Every time they step on the court, they get injured again and they're off. And so you're relying on the bottom 8 of this roster to help save the day, and it's just not happening. And it's not going to happen.
That's all I've been told. Flip-flops are not flattering on men. That's all I'm saying.
Oh.
I'm not flipping, flopping. I'm literally changing
agree.
my direction to
Because of
I don't
new
think this team is
information.
good.
But the thing is that what this stretch of games and all these injuries is doing to us is making us second guess ourselves.
Yes,
It's making us
fairly.
second guess our fandom as well. To the extent of do we have faith in this team? It's getting to the point where people are talking about this team fully healthy isn't even really a good team.
Which
But
I disagree
No,
with.
that-
in
I
principle.
disagree
Hold
with
on.
that.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what this type of a situation can do to you, though, as a fan. It makes you second guess all the things that you stood by at the beginning of the season because this feels literally like it came out of left field.
But
I will say this. I heard Matt LaFleur last night, the Packers head coach, say that sometimes winning when maybe you shouldn't have been covers up a lot of flaws, referring to they had a pretty good season the year before and they had a disappointing season this year. I'm starting to wonder if they had just caught lightning in a bottle for a 1.5 year period, their 2-year period, and that it hit a lot of the fundamental flaws that are on this roster that Devin Booker can hide too. I think there are things that need to very much be addressed on this team. They're not as bad as they are now. I don't think they're as good as they were last year, but I still think there's enough on this roster when they come back healthy that they could catch people off guard.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as like a lightning in the bottle to describe the last 2 years, but I will say, yeah, when you're winning that much and when you have 2 guys like Devin Booker and Chris Paul doing what they can do, it minimizes the stuff that, we've seen DA have to do recently, that we've seen Mikal Bridges have to try and do recently. So I do think this stretch, as awful as it has been to watch and as much as it's been a trial by fire, unsuccessful for a lot of these guys, you're hopeful that the things that they're learning now that they're having to do outside their comfort zone will help them when those guys back. But, that's assuming that they get fully healthy and that we can never know if that's going to happen.
My one ray of hope is the 76 Suns, and somebody in the chat mentioned them. But they finished 41-41 and made a run to the finals.
Mhm.
Like there is precedent where a team, they had a lot of injuries. They got guys back healthy towards the end. There's precedents, at least. Maybe there's something special that could come out of it if health gets here.
I will say they do need to get healthy enough to move up the seeding a little bit, because as much as I don't fear any other team in the West, if the Suns are fully healthy, they're 14-7 at home. They're 6-14 on the road. So last year's Road Warriors is not a thing so far.
Well, and their clutch is gone.
Yeah. So
You know what helps with getting healthy?
what's that?
Healthy food.
Oh yeah,
You know where you can get healthy food?
I don't.
Chop
Chop Chop. Chop Shop brought us lunch today here at PHNX, and it's healthy but incredibly delicious food. And if you guys are looking for an option for dinner or lunch throughout the week, I highly recommend you check out Chop Shop. You can find them at originalchopshop.com, or you can download the app today. They've got Valley locations all over. They make fantastic food, which I forgot that we were getting Chop Shop today. So on my way into the office, I was looking at our Slack, and Max is like, "Food's here." And I was like, "This is the best day ever. Thank God." I'm so excited for Chop Shop.
The bar is low.
It was delightful. I always have the steak sesame bowl, and it's definitely my favorite thing there. Even the cookies, right? They're healthy cookies, but they taste delightful.
What was the website again?
Originalchopshop.com.
Is there an imposter chopshop.com? Like,
Maybe.
I'm just wondering. Why do you have to have like original? Anyways, it's a branding thing. Original Chop Shop.
Originalchopshop.com. If you are looking for an option for dinner or lunch this week, again, make sure you guys check them out. There's one comment from the chat that I do want to kind of end on, and we don't have to go too crazy far into this. But T Bounty said, "I disagree with the disagreeing, not to be negative, but look at us against the Mavs when we had so many good players on the court. Something is off other than skills of players." Are you guys concerned that there's something off behind the scenes, or do you think that losing players can be demoralizing?
Listen, I didn't think that this team was a championship contender because I felt like they needed to add a legitimate number 2 scorer, because I felt like Chris Paul was going to have a drop-off this year, and that has come to fruition. And then your primary scorer gets injured, and then the pieces that you had to step up, because we've been saying it since the dawn of time, Cam Johnson, DA, and Michaela are going to take this team as far as they need to go. Mm-hmm. And right now, they can't take them shit. And that's where we're at. So I don't necessarily feel like it's something like behind the scenes. I just feel like the players that were needed to step up have not been able to, and that's that.
Yeah, I think we were under no illusions that this team, like, we weren't saying they should be a title favorite when they were fully healthy. Even when they were 15-6, we had concerns about who the second option would be, about the load that Devin Booker was carrying. They wouldn't be my pick to win a title if they are healthy, but I'm not going to rule out that possibility either, especially with a lot of the individual skills and things that guys are learning out of their comfort zone now. So, yeah, they wouldn't be my pick, but I'm not going to rule it out and say like, oh, yeah, they're definitely doomed either.
You know, I won't completely dismiss the idea of maybe there's something more going on. I mean, I know we kind of laughed at it earlier in the year when they got off to the hot start, but you got to wonder, now that they're experiencing tough times, does Monty's stuff fall a little more flat? Are they starting to not respond as well to that, everything you want is on the other side of hard, the folksy sayings, you can't get happy on the farm. That's all well and good when you're winning, but does it resonate when times are tough? And that's what I'm wondering, if maybe that's going on too right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's hard to find energy. It's hard to find excitement and hope in the day-to-day when you're in a really tough spot and you know it. I know there's no excuses, but it's still a human element. You know what I mean?
It is. I mean, it's tough to get through the dark days, and it's a grind. And I do think this team has the mentality to try and fight through it. And listen, other good teams have had to fight through similar adversity, especially when key players are out. I mean, we've seen long stretches of losing from what ended up being championship teams in the past. Like, it's okay. I know, like, it's just hard to feel optimistic when your team's playing at such a low level. But we're going to find our way through it, and we're going to find our way through it together.
Yeah. And on a positive note, Omar just sent us a $50 super chat. Thank you so much, Omar, and said, "I want to see a lineup of Espo, Saul, Mikkel, G-Money, and Lindsey before I consider a trade. That's a championship contender."
I appreciate that, and I promise you we would get obliterated in whatever we were playing.
Oh, we would totally win.
My granny shot's on point, okay?
We'd totally win the Shacking a Fool championship. There is no doubt about it.
But you know what? I guarantee will happen if we all did that? We would have a hell of a great time.
Yeah.
That would be a fun-ass game for sure.
I would like to say one more thing before we go. So we just got some news, which I thought was really, really cool. And listen, if anybody knows how to deal with losing, It is anybody on the Coyotes beat. And our very own Craig Morgan just got this award for being the National Sports Media Association Sports Writer of the Year. Congratulations to him. I don't know if I've ever come across an individual that just is such a pro. You know what I mean? As Craig, he's phenomenal. We all love him here, obviously. He's such a great asset to what we do here, and he's just the GOAT. Yeah, he's just the GOAT. He really is.
And if there is a man that's seen losing in this town,
yeah,
Craig Morgan, as he's covered multiple teams and not seen a whole lot of success, but he keeps doing the sports gods work out there. So good work, Craig. We appreciate you.
And Craig always brings, no shade to anybody else, but Craig always brings the best dishes to our potlucks.
He does.
He really
actually
does.
He actually invited us over to his house, and I assume there will be nothing but tremendous food all the way across the board. So don't let me down, Craig.
But shout out to Craig Morgan. Shout out to all of you guys for joining us. We appreciate you so very much. Tomorrow we will have a pregame show at 7:30 for you. It's a late one. We'll be taking on the Warriors, and then a post-game show as well. So plan to come hang out with us tomorrow for those two shows. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter at Lindsey Smith AZ. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourguet. And of course, you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Are tanks comfortable to sit in? You might be riding in one soon.
Hey, yo, my lifestyle is retro. Tell the Phoenix Metro. Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsey, Gerald, Espo. Saw past the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always rep the family. Rally in the valley like Dan G, no plan B. Always on the job, my team move like the mob. Turn the beat on, I throw it down like DA.